Our top story today is Hurricane Ian, and it has made landfall in Cuba as a Category 3 storm, drenching the island with heavy rains and a storm surge that could be up to 14 feet high. Now, Ian is still on track to impact southern and western Florida next. Christian Banyanves reports from St. Petersburg.
Up and down the west coast of Florida, people are bracing for the arrival of Hurricane Ian.
They say mandatory evacuation. It's time to go.
Ian has grown significantly in the past 24 hours and is expected to develop into a Category 4 storm with 140-mile-an-hour winds.
Property damage and these things, it's terrible that would happen in a storm, but we can fix that and we can help rebuild, but you got to take care of yourself.
It's been more than a century since a major hurricane directly hit Tampa Bay. These pictures from the aftermath of that storm. Homes destroyed, ships run aground. Officials there worry the region could face similar scenes this time around.
This is not a drill. Be prepared for anything.
The National Hurricane Center says Ian's exact path is still uncertain, but even if the eye stays offshore, a 10 to 15-foot storm surge could still inundate the Tampa-St. Petersburg area.
That is a tremendous amount of water. You do not want to decide to evacuate when you see water coming under the door of your home.
As many as 300,000 people may be forced from their homes.
Well, meantime, as Hurricane Ian continues to strengthen and head towards Florida, the hurricane brought a storm surge and heavy rainfall to the Cayman Islands, leaving widespread flooding in its wake. You see some of it here on your screen. There were reports of power outages in the territory on Monday due to the fierceness of Hurricane Ian. And according to the Cayman Compass, an all clear was issued for the Cayman Islands Monday afternoon. Meantime, Hurricane Ian comes just days after Hurricane Fiona destroyed parts of Puerto Rico, leaving millions without power on the island. And now Luma Energy says between 77% and 91% of customers could see service restored by Friday. Again, this is in Puerto Rico. Luma officials say they have had more than 2,000 employees operating in the field since the emergency was declared. And switching gears now to the latest out of Jamaica. Jamaica's Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, has called for an international war on guns to end the influx of illegal weapons and epidemic of murders in his country. He made the call in his address to the 77th session of the General Assembly of the United Nations in New York, stating that in the same way a war on drugs is being prosecuted, there now needs to be a war on guns. The Jamaican leader urged for pressure to be placed on international gun manufacturers to institute stronger measures to prevent the illegal flow of weapons into the hands of poor, marginalized youth in developing countries like Jamaica. He added that in the same way there is concern about illegal drugs on the streets of the rich countries, there must be concern about guns on the streets of developing countries like Jamaica.
Jamaica has not only engaged in global initiatives such as the Partnership to End Violence Against Children, but we have recently empaneled a National Commission on the Prevention of Violence to advise the government on building out an articulated public health and social service response. However, the situation is exponentially complicated and exacerbated by the influx of illegal and unregistered small arms into our country. From organized transnational criminal enterprises to street-level gangs to the misguided youth in the inner city. The availability of guns is driving an ever-increasing homicide rate. In the same way that a war on drugs is being prosecuted, in which we have been faithful partners in policing what comes through our waters or leaves our shores, there now must be a war on guns.
Well, now to an update to a story we brought you earlier this week. Millions of Cubans went to the polls this week for a historic referendum that could change the island's culture. And the results are in. Same-sex couples can now get hitched in Cuba. Voters on the island legalized gay marriage in a referendum on Sunday. The National Electoral Council says a clear majority supported a family code that also increased protections for women, children, and the LGBTQ community.